morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Serene from the Lenovo forums right here, and we have a very special episode today for you. It is actually a celebration of our forums because we actually turned 8 this year. Hooray! So, with us today, we have the father of the forum himself, Mr. Mark Hopkins, as well as 3 of the pioneers who actually joined us from day one. Actually, I should be corrected. They did not join us on day one. They joined us even before day one. So I'm going to let them talk a little bit about themselves before we go into the discussion proper. And let's start off with Mark.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Hopkins. You find me in the forum as Mark Lenovo. So I guess our journey began probably in 2006 while we were listening to customer feedback across the internet, and I realized that a lot of the feedback was coming out of some great third-party fan forums like thinkpads.com, and we began to join there and have some discussions with the people that were helping run that community, like Bill and Jane, who's with us today. And when it came time to set up our own forum, we invited them to consult with us and to be part of it, and we envisioned that it should be a collaboration with the customers. So we invited them in to help us build it, formulate the rules, learn from their lessons over the last 5 years or more of running their own community. And we invited them to help us moderate the community. We wanted to make it about our customers, and we wanted to make it a partnership.
Thanks, Mark. So as he shared, right, these are actually volunteers, and we're going to go to our lady in the house, Jane, who's also a familiar face in our hangouts. Hey, Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane L. in the forum, and I've been around ThinkPad since the mid-90s, back when IBM used to do tech support in CompuServe. That's where I first got involved in the forums. And after they shut that down, then Bill Morrow brought up his own forums, and I started getting involved there, and also the ThinkPad mailing list. So I've been around for quite a while. I ran into Mark when it came in the back door at thinkpads.com and issues that people were having, and we formed a great relationship from there.
Cool. Thanks, Jane. So let's hear from Andrew, who is also known as Banana Man in the forums, about how he actually.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how I got to be called Banana Man. That was one of those things where I needed a username fast, and that's what came out. So I was actually just after the start of the forums, not before the start of the forums, and I came to find an answer to a couple of questions that I had on ThinkPads, and I Googled and found the Lenovo community and found my answers. I got my questions answered, but when I looked around, I realized that I could answer some of the questions that were there, so I started answering questions. And a short time later, I was asked to help out with the community, and so I did, and here we are. Amazingly, it's 8 years later, and I've had a lot of fun. I love roaming the community, trying to help people out. It's a little bit like doing a constant puzzle. It's a never-ending puzzle. I love doing crosswords and things like that, and helping people solve problems. One of the things I was involved in that was particularly gratifying was working on the 2014 generation UltraNav. I'm an avid trackpoint user, and so I used the left and right buttons to do my clicking, and in 2014 those buttons went away, and I started making some comments about this and did some experiments. I did some videos. I sent them to Lenovo, and suddenly I was working with Lenovo engineering on solving the problem of what happens when you're using the track point and either your skin is dry or only your thumbnail or fingernail makes contact with the touchpad, and it doesn't register. And after a few months, we got the samples of the current new UltraNav, and it's on all the 2015 ThinkPads, and it's awesome. I'm talking to you on one right now. It's great. So that's my story in a nutshell.
That is so cool. I mean, it's great to see how the role of the moderators and gurus in the forums have actually evolved over time. And then we'll go to the last person in our panelist, who has evolved as well with us, Andy P, as he was previously known. Now he has a different name. Hey, Andy.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, previously known as Andy P, now known as Andy Lenovo. One day, I think it was the 27th of November 2007, I received an anonymous, or a rather strange private message from somebody called Nonny at thinkpads.com, where I was active answering questions, informing me that Lenovo had was planning on opening their own forum, inviting me over to assist. Now, the kind lady that sent that is actually Jane L today, so I have her to thank for my presence at the Lenovo community, which yeah, I joined with gusto, tore straight into it. It was a really exciting time being involved in something new, which I'd never really been involved with before, and helped and assisted and also watched the community develop over the years. There are so many changes in appearance, in functionality. I can't remember them all, to be honest. I mean, I remember we had big discussions about the kudos button, what it should be called, you know, marking solutions, all the tiny little functions and everything, being involved in those discussions, being invited in back then to the moderator group, helping Lenovo as a volunteer liaise with ThinkPad Forum DE and getting the Lenovo German community on its feet, and just helping to drive everything forwards. That it turned out that a year ago, start of September, I actually joined Lenovo to assist with running the German community, and in April this year was very happy to accept the position of lead for the English community. And I think over the years, probably my highlight, if there is one, was actually this time last year in December, cutting the 7th birthday cake with Mark. It was the first time I'd met him, having communicated with him so often online for 7 years. It was actually a real big highlight to meet him eventually.
Thanks, Andy. So now we're on our 8th. Awesome, huh?
Yep.
Mark, you talked a little bit just now about how we started off on the premise that this was to be a peer-to-peer customer engagement portal, right? A platform, and we were kind of like the first in the company, kind of, to do so. What are your thoughts about it now, 8 years down the road? Have we succeeded, do you think?
Oh, I think absolutely we have. You know, it's been an evolution. I told Jane at the beginning that I thought it was going to be a journey. We kind of had a compass direction rather than a destination in mind, and so you know we've kind of progressed through stages as I look at the years. I think our secret sauce has definitely been the close participation with the volunteer moderation group. I think we're one of few corporate communities that has volunteer moderation from our customer base. I think this creates you know, a really strong partnership, which I think is important. And so over the years, I think our goal has been to get Lenovo more deeply involved and help the company transform and listen to its customers and find partnerships with them. And so, you know, over the years, we've gone from being strictly peer-to-peer to beginning to help in some conversations, getting involved in the bigger discussions around particular issues, building deep relationships in the quality and engineering teams, which I think has certainly strengthened over the last 5 or 6 years. And now, in the last couple of years, we've been moving on to consider design. And so I think Andrew had a great example of where we were beginning to partner with our customers on how they were using the product, understanding key features, and I think we're looking to scale that up now. So this year, we've begun to set up some new boards in the special events section that are focused on think and idea systems. And we're involving the product managers. These are members of the product marketing teams that own sections of the portfolio, and getting them involved in the discussions with the customer and to solicit feedback. We've done a number of hangouts. So I think this is just another phase in our journey. I think it's going to be a continued evolution, and I think that the community is evolving over time from being just a support community into a customer experience community. So we're hoping to build value across the entire customer experience lifecycle.
Thanks, Mark. So I think basically the role of the moderation team itself has also somewhat changed right throughout the years, from formulating the ever-changing rules of our community. What has your experience like actually moderating the forums, Jane and Andrew? Sorry, Jane.
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it was just trying to build the membership. I know Mark and I, on day one, when we did a soft opening, and then on the day when we actually announced the forum, I was out there dragging people in by their hair. Maybe not Andy, but we were, trying to build the membership as much as possible. And then from there, as people started to get engaged, we had already, designed our rules of the road, so to speak, for the forum. And after that, it was just trying to make sure that people remain cordial, that they're civil to one another, that we acknowledge people who are helping us a lot. And we've just grown from there. Did you say the same thing, Andy?
Andy or Andrew?
Either one.
I'll let you go, Andrew.
Yeah. So it has been an interesting evolution. In the beginning, when I started moderating, it was kind of an extension of what I was doing, showing up at the forums regularly and answering questions. I kept doing that, but as you say, we had to figure out how things were going to work. We had to fine-tune the rules. Along the way, there was some, I would call it exception handling, when new things happened, and there was mini crises, and we kind of had to deal with spam, for instance, was one that we spent a lot of time working on. And so I think at the height of the spam problem, I was spending a lot of time on spam and less time on helping people in the community. But now, 8 years on, we're fairly stable, and I'm glad that I can actually spend some time again actually helping people. And then, occasionally we have discussions, we talk about what's next, how to improve the community. And it's very gratifying. I still check in almost every day and try to make at least one or two posts or answer one or two questions, and help the moderation team keep making it better.
Cool, thanks. So Andy, what about you? I mean, you came, like you shared, you straddled the role of volunteer, and now you're paid staff. What is your biggest challenge in dealing with customers? First as a moderator, and now as a staff.
Yeah, challenges. Well, I think the biggest challenge was always to try and keep things orderly, help people, ensure that they provide the right information in order that someone else is able to answer their question, because quite often, someone will come onto the community and they'll have a subject title that says help, and in the body of the post there'll be my computer isn't working. So I mean, just help alone is probably the right action to do, waving your arms above your head if you're floating down a river. But in a forum, it's not going to attract very much attention. So subject titles, ensuring that they're correct, that people are providing information that people need, and as Jane correctly said, that people behave themselves. It is a forum. It's somewhere where people should be able to converse with one another. I mean, I remember Mark saying it'd be great if everyone would treat each other as if they were sitting across the dinner table or in the living room on the couch. I think that, as a moderator, was certainly the greatest challenge. Since becoming staff, I think certainly the biggest challenge has been ensuring that the structure of the community is amenable to everybody, that it's clearly visible where people should place their questions, and that obviously we have the resources there from volunteers and support specialists, people there to help and answer their queries. The forum traffic we just measured yesterday, just for Europe alone, EMEA, we're getting a million unique IP visits per month on average.
Wow.
And so we're probably looking about 3.5 million per month around the world. So it's obviously catering to a lot of people, and the challenge is ensuring that it works for those people currently, which is also an exciting challenge.
Cool. So what about you? What about Jane and Andrew again? What tips would you want to share for the community users, particularly new ones who don't seem to quite have the habit of reading the fine print or even reading our rules and regulations in the first place? How can they make their cries for help more visible, for instance, or without getting in the way of things like, for example, being rude or offensive?
If they would just give us a coherent title, just a little bit about what the problem is, and then give us details in the body of the message. That's going to get them the fastest help, because you're not going to have a lot of back and forth trying to get those details. Is to up front, don't just scream and shout. Give us details. Here's what's happening. And look for threads of people who are already having the problem, and there's already an existing thread. You might be able to join that thread and get a solution right off the bat without having to start a new thread.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one thing, is provide as much information you can about the hardware, the computer you're talking about, the software you're using. That helps enormously. Make sure that you get answers, just remember it's a peer-to-peer community. There's a lot of people like me out there that are quite happy to help other people solve problems. Someone said earlier, regard it as being just somebody sitting on the other side of the table from you and helping you out with your problem. I hesitate to start saying them because there's a lot of don't do things. I always like to be positive, but please avoid posting personal information and unique information about your computer, like the serial number, because people can get up to mischief with things like that. And obviously, if you post your email, that's likely to get scooped up by spam crawlers, and the next thing you know, you'll be getting strange emails. Yeah, those are the top things. Anyone else got any advice?
Yeah, there's one point I'd like to add to that as well. I think it's also important that, we see a lot of people saying, I've been fighting this for the last 24 hours. tell us what you've tried and hasn't worked, because that will avoid people suggesting that you do the same thing again, which you've already tried but had failed, and they may have alternate suggestions that you perhaps hadn't thought about. And this all goes into providing the detail which both Jane and Andrew mentioned. You know, I always say, if you're going to post into a forum, you've got to feed it with information. The more you put in, usually the more you get out.
Good afternoon, good evening.
So let me just ask the group, what do you, looking ahead the next year, what are your hopes and aspirations for the community, how it might get stronger and better?
I just hope it continues to grow. I think we have a good moderation team, and we're constantly growing that moderation team. You know, we try not to grow it too fast because we want to make careful choices there. I think we have a pretty strong guru group as well, and we continue to grow that group, and they help customers as much as that. I just think that we can continue to grow strongly.
Awesome. What about Andy? What are your thoughts?
Myself, well, I think I would very much like to see more of our regular visiting members participating with ideas, how we can make things better for them. It's actually not something that's been clearly advertised that we welcome suggestions from members regarding improvements to the community with specific features. We have had a few over the years, but I think, advertising more that it is a peer-to-peer community run by volunteers might encourage more of our visitors to actually want to become involved and become a part of what has been a growing community and still growing community over the last 8 years.
Awesome. Okay, and last but not least, Andrew? Oh gosh.
Yes. Well, at least we don't go by Andrew. If there were two Andrews, that would be confusing. So, you know, I hope that the community is a resource that Lenovo can use to design us all better products in the future. You know, from my perspective, it's this huge cauldron of user activity, people telling us, you know, what's happening, what's the problems they have, and I hope that the community continues to grow and help Lenovo make better products. The community will continue to grow as long as Lenovo continues to grow, I think. But in some sense, the feedback goes back into Lenovo's design. You know, the questions in the community hopefully will move from being about the hardware and the specific problems with how you actually use the devices, your PCs, to do things in your life, kind of the higher level issues. And what I would like to think is that in 5 years I look at the community and I see more discussion about actually the use of the devices rather than discussion about all of the, you know, lots of discussion about all of the lower level hardware issues and software issues with the devices. So that's kind of my picture of where we're going. It's been, like I said, it's very gratifying helping people out, and you know, I hope we continue to be a useful resource. You know, we'll see where it goes in the future. There's other channels, other ways. Who knows where we're going to be in 10 years' time? but you know, let's keep it growing. It's been useful to me, and hopefully it'll continue to be useful to lots of other people too.
Indeed. So with that, I think that we are running out of time. We have to conclude this very interesting discussion. I want to really say a big thank you to all our community users out there, especially the moderation team and our gurus who have put in so much to help grow us during this period of time. And as what everybody here has said, it's clear that we will continue to grow and change over time. So do pop by the forums if you have problems about your hardware or software. But also, as Andrew said, if you have ideas about how we can actually improve at the high level, jump into the discussions at our Change the Future boards. We have 2 sections there, Change the Future of ThinkPad and of our Lenovo products themselves. So make yourselves comfortable, get yourselves heard. So with that, we are signing off. Over and out. See you guys. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye
Bye.
bye.